Hello everyone! Ellie's immunity is one of the most debated topics in the entire The Last of Us franchise. Over the years, since the release of the game and the HBO series, countless theories have emerged, some reasonable, others completely pseudo-scientific, portraying Ellie as the ultimate key to saving humanity. Ironically, this topic has even gained popularity among biologists, medical professionals, and people who enjoy analyzing fiction through the lens of real science. That's exactly why I decided to take a closer look at how Ellie's immunity actually works, what we truly know from the developers and the canon, and most importantly, whether it could have saved the world at all. In this video, I'll break everything down in simple terms, and by the end, put a definitive point on this debate. And we have to start at the very beginning, with Ellie's birth, because her immunity is directly tied to the circumstances under which she was born. This isn't fan speculation, it's a canonical fact shown in the HBO series. Ellie's mother, Anna, was bitten by an infected person just moments before giving birth. Ellie was born while the umbilical cord was still intact, and it's at that moment that the pathogen most likely entered the child's body. This detail is crucial. At that stage, a newborn's immune system is not yet fully developed. According to the Fireflies theory, this played a key role. The Cordyceps didn't enter an adult body, where it would immediately face an aggressive immune response. Instead, it entered a body where it developed alongside the host. But rather than destroying the brain and nervous system as it does in everyone else, this strain mutated and became part of Ellie's biology. And this is the key point many people misunderstand. Ellie's immunity is not her immune system defeating the infection. It's not antibodies or resistance in the traditional sense. On the contrary, the canon suggests that her body does not recognize Cordyceps as a threat. The mutated strain causes no immune response and instead produces a chemical signal that tells other strains the body is already infected. That's why when Ellie is bitten or exposed to spores, the new Cordyceps essentially backs off, believing it arrived too late. This is exactly what happened after she was bitten by a runner in the mall. Ellie should have turned within hours, just like everyone else, but she didn't. At the time, neither Joel nor Tess nor Ellie herself understood why. It seemed like a miracle. And it's important to emphasize, even the Fireflies didn't fully understand the mechanism. The hospital recordings in the game explicitly state that this was a unique case they had never encountered before. Medical notes found in the game also hint at this abnormality. Ellie's test results show no signs of an active immune response. In real life, a fungal infection would trigger a massive immune reaction. Here, the body behaves as if nothing is wrong. Once again, this reinforces the idea that this is not immunity in the classical sense, but a form of coexistence. Essentially, Ellie is a biological anomaly, not a superhuman, not a perfectly engineered cure, just a rare exception. And within the world of The Last of Us, that makes sense. We constantly see infected who survive for years without food, water, or a functioning metabolism. Clickers trapped in sealed rooms don't die of starvation. From a real biological standpoint, this is absurd. But within the lore, Cordyceps partially takes over the role of sustaining the host. That's why trying to analyze Ellie strictly through real-world medicine always hits a wall. The Last of Us is not hard science fiction. It's emotional, character-driven fiction. The pathogen works the way the story needs it to. And within that story, Ellie is not a cure. She is a carrier of a unique mutated strain. So the obvious question follows. If Ellie is unique, could this situation be replicated? Theoretically, maybe. Practically, almost impossible. Too many variables are involved. Timing of infection, fetal development, mutation, genetics of both mother and child. Even the Fireflies never treated this as a repeatable method. Ellie was an accident, not a controlled experiment. Now we reach the core issue, the vaccine. The Fireflies believed that the mutated cordyceps in Ellie's brain was the key. That's why the surgeon, Jerry, chose the most extreme option, removing the infected brain tissue entirely. The problem is that this did not guarantee success. It was a gamble. Neither the game nor the series ever states that the vaccine would definitely work. It was hope, not proven science. Moreover, killing the host destroys the unique biological environment in which the mutation existed. In the real world, such research would prioritize preserving the subject, but the Fireflies lacked time, resources, and a proper scientific infrastructure. This was a desperate move in a desperate world. But even if we assume the vaccine was successfully created, the real question remains: would it have saved the world? And here, the answer is almost certainly no. The Fireflies are not a global authority or a scientific coalition. They're fragmented, radical group. They have no mass production, no logistics, no global reach. 20 years have passed since civilization collapsed. The world of The Last of Us is one where people kill each other for food, ammo, and territory. Hunters, military regimes, isolated communities, none of them would simply trust the Fireflies. Even if a vaccine existed, it would still need to be produced, transported, and accepted. Socially, this world is already dead. It's not capable of collective salvation. People no longer act as humanity. They act as isolated factions, and no vaccine can fix that. That's why Joel's decision cannot be judged purely through the lens of science. He acted emotionally, as a father, but at the same time, he stopped a sacrifice that with overwhelming probability would not have saved the world anyway. Even the developers have emphasized this point repeatedly. The ending is not about a right or wrong choice. It's about a human choice. And finally, some argue that the only true solution would be Ellie's offspring. But Neil Druckmann himself has made it clear. The Last of Us is not a story about finding a cure. It's a story about people, loss, and the consequences of decisions. Ellie is not a vaccine factory. She is not a messianic figure. Ellie wouldn't have saved the world, because the world was broken long before her. And no vaccine can fix what people destroyed themselves.